All right, friends, it is that time again. The Xbox Game Pass show is live here on twitch.tv/robotsradio. It is 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, and this is your host, Tom or Robots, and we're back with our 13th episode. This episode is haunted. Be warned. What's going on? N7 the Legend, how are you?
I'm pretty well. We are just days away from me pulling the trigger on getting a gaming PC and then being able to try out a whole new world of different games that are on Game Pass.
What? That's so fun. That's
right.
And I sound surprised, but I'm not surprised because you and I have been tossing around some links for some PCs. We've been taking a look at some different GPUs. We've been looking at benchmarks and processors and all sorts of fun bits and bobs and things. And man, I'm so excited for you. Getting a new PC is such a fun thing. And the world of PC gaming is a super good time, especially when you have something like Game Pass, because you're going to have so many games, dozens and dozens and dozens of things that you can just download and put onto that system and just play with. It's going to be such a fun time. But hey, let's get into the show because we have so many fun things to talk about this week. This is, of course, the show where we talk about the new games coming to Game Pass, the old games leaving Game Pass, and we're going to give you some of our first impressions about the games that we have tried out this last week, so you don't have to spend your time downloading them if they're terrible, but you will know which ones you might want to check out. And this week, we took the time to try out 12 Minutes, Rain on Your Parade, Myst, and Train Sim World 2. And so that's what we're going to be talking about at the top of the show. And then at the end of the show, we've got the call lines open. So if any of you guys are here during the live show and you want to call in and tell us your thoughts about one of the games that you tried out on Game Pass, then you're welcome to do so. If we don't get any call-ins this week, then we're just going to roll with it. But if there's anybody in the live audience that has something they'd like to share, then of course the call lines will be open. So why don't we kick this off? Do you want to go start? You want to start first? Do you want me to start first? I know you've got some fun things to talk about.
I am pretty anxious to talk about Myst. So yeah.
All right.
We can kick it off.
Yeah, let's kick it off with Myst.
So first of all, I think that there's two groups of gamers. One who know what Myst is and the other that don't know what Myst is. And the thing is that Myst isn't new. This version of Myst is new. But Myst is actually a game that came out in the early 90s. And at the time, it was pretty revolutionary. It was the first game that depicted actual landscapes and scenes because of the technology that was able,
with lots of colors in them.
Yes,
and
it didn't
sound.
Look like just like huge pixels. You know what I mean? It didn't look like the green text from the Matrix. Right.
Yeah, the games up until then were very blocky, and they didn't look like games after Myst, or at least Myst was still blocky by today's standards, but this game the original Myst was a lot closer to actually having, like you said, like landscapes, like images that you could identify what they were. Oh, that's a house with trees in the background and hills, and those are mountains and clouds, and that's a door, and actual images that you can interact with. And that's what was so amazing about this game. And that's what, I remember, and we talked about this a lot in the last show, so I'm not going to go off on too much of a tangent, but I remember being a kid at the time, and this was a game that caught my friend's parents' attention because this was something they could get behind. Like, my friend's parents were buying this game and loading it up and enjoying looking at this imagery and being amazed that their computers could actually render this kind of thing for the first time. Like, that generation, the boomer generation, because I'm not a baby boomer, the boomer generation was going, wow, look what my computer can do. I spent $3,000 on this machine that used to just crunch database spreadsheets and stuff. And now I can look at pictures and click on doors and open them and figure out puzzles. Which is silly by today's standards, but they were amazed by it.
But yeah, it was revolutionary back then. And so this game is also a game that has been remastered like 5 times throughout the years. And obviously this is the most recent iteration. This game dropped on Game Pass on day 1, which was last Thursday. And so I got a chance to go ahead and download it. So I figured I might as well try out a game that was so revolutionary to the whole industry. Why not? So I decided to stream the game for 4 hours, total blind stream. I had never played the game before, just seen maybe like a minute or two of gameplay, enough to know that it was a puzzle game and that my work was going to be cut out for me. Now, this iteration was remastered in the Unreal Engine. And in my opinion, the Unreal Engine does justice for what the game was trying to be when it came out. And you don't have to take my word for it. There's an older gamer who was actually watching me stream and said, with the Unreal Engine, with these graphics, this is how the game always should have been played. So I streamed for 4 hours. I don't normally stream games that long. I normally don't have the time. But in this instance, I had a time, and then I played for another 4 hours. After that, totaled 8 hours of playing in the game from start to finish, and I finished the game. If that's any indication of how much I liked and was intrigued and pulled into this mysterious world of Myst, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's very little hand-holding in this game, which is very common for older games. I think the hand-holding is a very recent accommodation in video games. Video games were not always user-friendly at all.
Yeah, that's increased over time. It's something that people have realized that if you help out the player is more likely to make their way further into the game and finish it. And
it's so funny that you bring that up. More likely to make their way into the game, because I noticed that all of the achievements that I got from this game were rare achievements, because most gamers didn't even go past a certain extent. That's a testimony to how challenging the game is, because it's not easy, and you can do randomized or the original puzzles from the 1993 version.
Wow.
So you can play it theoretically unlimited amount of times and have different puzzles. But it's also a testament to the fact that it does not help gamers through the game. You figure it out or not, and that's it. I think that level of punishment is great because I'm a masochist. No, I'm kidding. But I do love those older games like Morrowind, the ones that are more challenging, because they're more rewarding, at least to me in the end. So if you like challenging games that don't really tell you what to do, because in Myst, you're kind of like given a brief intro video thrown in and that's it. Yeah. You figure out what to do. Yeah. There's not a lot of complicated controls. Again, the gameplay is just a mechanism to tell a story. And for this one, I always enjoyed those wooden steel puzzle cubes, the interlocking rings, those types of brain games to play, right? I always enjoyed those, so I enjoyed this game. And if you enjoyed those, you might enjoy this game too. And the thing is about this game that it's not just puzzles, but it has a super weird story that just after playing 8 hours, I feel like I barely scratched the surface. I feel like this is one of those worlds where it seems like a simple game, but then you look at the wiki, right? And the wiki is insane. Like you could get lost in the wiki for probably a full week. I'm not even sure. But it has a super, super deep story, super weird story. And apparently there's an entire world that this one guy created by writing it into existence. And I might be getting some of this wrong. So if you're like a diehard Myst advocate, please excuse me. This is after 8 hours of gameplay. And he writes this world, or rather multiple worlds, into existence called the Ages of Myst. And he can travel between these worlds through books in which the worlds are stored. Some of the worlds are populated by interesting locals like monkey men, and some are strewn about with mangrove tree homes. So, think of like the very tropiest tropes of sci-fi, and you'll get something close to this lore because while it's all very beautiful and fantastical, and it was very easy to get lost in these different worlds as you're exploring them, walking from puzzle to puzzle, it's also very reminiscent of old sci-fi. Old sci-fi as in like the H.G. Wells Time Machine-esque sci-fi, that kind. I don't really know how else to describe it, but if you've read the book, you know the feeling I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. I think that this is from a time when games weren't designed to be the kind of thing that you play for 4 hours at a time or 8 hours at a time, and so the idea that you could get lost in this and it would take you a long time to figure out a puzzle or to even figure out where to go next or what to do next in a game. And it could be frustrating, and you could butt your head up against something for 2 hours and really not make any progress. And then you would go away from it and you'd be thinking about it when you go to bed that night. And then you wake up in the morning and go, oh, maybe I should look over there at this other thing and try that. And then you come back to it and you tool around with it for another hour and go, and then all of a sudden something dawns on you and it unlocks something and open up a whole nother area. That's the way these kinds of games were designed. It's not like the way games were designed today. Games in that era, you could finish in, maybe 10 hours of total gameplay if you knew exactly where to go and what to do, or less. I think maybe the original Myst is maybe the experience is, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours long if you know exactly where to go and what to do for each puzzle. But actually getting through it the first time could have taken you way longer than that. But you would have gotten frustrated just kind of sitting there trying to figure out what to do, because it was meant to just sit down for 30 minutes and just kind of try to figure something out. You get a little bit frustrated, you walk away, you come back, you try it again, or you go to the water cooler, you talk to the guy at work, your friend at work who's trying it also, you throw some ideas back and forth, and then you go, oh, I figured it out, try this. And then, you just kind of figure it out together over the water cooler, because there wasn't an internet or at least you didn't use the internet back in the late 80s because, only the government and some universities used it back then, that kind of thing. The world was a different place, So yeah, it's interesting that they kept it so true to the original.
Yeah, and a point of pride with me, I did not look up the solution to any of the puzzles. So I wanted to do it blind. I wanted to do it the right way. And holy shit, were some parts of it hard. There were some parts that were punishing. There was a part after the third puzzle where you're going through an underground tunnel complex and you have this train that sits on one track and you can only see out the front with very limited peripheral view. And it's a maze, and you have to rotate at a 45-degree angle or by 45-degree angles. And you have north, northeast, east, all of the directions. And you have to find your way out that way. And a lot of these pathways lead to absolutely nothing, but then you have to remember how to get back. Yeah. And then, and there's no map. This is all just in your mind that you have to remember this. Back
then, what people would have done was they probably had a notebook with them, and they would have sketched out all the different options that they have tried and mapped everything out on a piece of paper. But in today's games,
very evident.
You would have had a HUD thing that showed you all the paths that you would have taken, and then you would have gone back through, and we would have done it for you, right? But that's not in the game, so you have to do it on a sheet of paper.
That became very, very evident because there were other parts of the game where you needed to go pick up a book from over there, look at the certain page for instructions on a puzzle that's across the island. Mm-hmm. So you would need to write it down on a physical sheet of paper and keep it in front of you while you're playing the game.
Right.
I got around it by taking a screenshot on my Xbox and then looking at the screenshot on my phone. I don't consider that cheating at all, because it's still it's the equivalent same thing as writing it down.
It's a shortcut for writing it down. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So there's that, and that made it a little bit more challenging, but all in all, very rewarding game. And the conflict. People listening to this might think, what's the conflict here? I just hear about this fantastical world full of puzzles and, a strange wizard who created it. Mm-hmm. Well, the long story short, you're presented at the very beginning with two guys who are stuck in books. They're stuck inside books. Like the actual animation is something very similar to the Superman movies when people were trapped in the squares.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One was one is a red book and one is a blue book, and they are brothers and ask for your help. And they also claim that the other can't be trusted. Of course.
Boy.
Right.
Oh boy.
Well, both are, of course, the father. The father is the guy who created everything. They are the sons of the father, and they try to trick their way into gaining complete control of the Ages of Myst. Now, this is something that you don't know until the very, very end. And you have to trust them at their word, and there's no way of knowing for sure before you choose the ending. But there are multiple different endings. And they're also very similar to Mass Effect in appearance. And everyone knows I love Mass Effect, hence the name, and Seven Legend. Well, this isn't like a stretch to compare it to, because there's a red ending, there's a blue ending, and there's a green ending. Mm-hmm. And then there's two different variations of the green ending. Except it's not like Mass Effect in that there is a right ending. There is truly a right ending. And if you do everything and you get access to the secret vault, and then you go into the end and you see the red page and the blue page, and obviously if you get the blue page, it frees the brother in the blue book. You get the red page, it frees the brother in the red book. But there's a green book, which both of them told you not to look at. Mm-hmm. They both told you don't touch that because you will become trapped if you do. Well, what happens if you choose the blue page? The guy in the blue book is like, haha, sucker, now you're stuck in the blue book.
Right.
Same shit happens if you choose the red book.
Right.
And they're both awful. And you choose the green book, and I chose the green book first try because I was like, both of these guys just
this seems like the only option that's different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I don't know if I should trust either one of them, because one of them seems like a murderous psycho and the other one seems like a greedy bastard. So I don't think I should really trust either of these guys.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I still saved right before choosing it. And nice. I chose the green ending. I met the wizard. He was like, oh, hello.
Spoilers, by the way. Spoiler. We should have said spoilers earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Oops.
Well, spoilers. He's like, oh, hello. Looks like you've ran into my awful sons. Well, thanks for, basically solving all the puzzles and finding the extra page from the vault. Excellent. Well, now you're on your way. Goodbye. And that's pretty much it. Except before then, he's like, I got to take care of some things. He goes back to the worlds of Myst that you're in. He destroys both of the books, killing his sons in the process, I suppose. And then he's like, okay, toodaloo. Goodbye.
You're right. My sons were jerks. Goodbye to them.
They're just awful little
And you
pests.
too. See you later. Thank you for your help.
And that was it. So, 8 out of 8 pizza slices. Beautiful and engaging.
Wonderful. All right. 8 out of 8. Awesome. Well, good. Well, that's a really interesting experience. I looked at the screenshots. I didn't load this up, but I wasn't wowed by the graphics for something that seems like it was brand new. Is it better when you actually load it up than it appears?
Maybe it's because there's not much that looks like it in that engine on Xbox One. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. I imagine that, once I get my PC and I download this again and I look at it with, the ray tracing and whatnot, it's going to look gorgeous.
Okay. Because I would assume that the screenshots would have been like the highest quality images they could have gotten. But is it just not that great looking?
A lot of it is moving around in the world and seeing the way that the light interacts. And, there's not a lot to the game, so they were able to focus a lot on the graphics, right? But a lot of it is the movement in the world and just kind of like how it feels natural. Like it really does feel like you are on that island, because I think, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is a game that was built for VR.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine being in this in VR.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yep. So.
All right. So you also played Train Sim World 2. And
I did. By
your show notes. Okay. So you've got almost a page and a half of show notes on Myst, and you have like a line of text here for Train Sim
yes,
World 2. All right. So what's your feelings on this one?
Well, I don't have many, clearly, but, I have in the show notes, and I'll say it here. It's that I don't know what I expected, but that's exactly what I got. So I downloaded Train Sim World, just not really knowing what to expect. And it is exactly as you would imagine. It's a train simulator. You are acting as the operator of a 2-dimensional moving vehicle set on rails.
So wait, do you have to manage do you just drive a train?
Yes.
You're just like, you pick a train and you're just like, go. That's it.
It's riveting. Let me tell you, no pun intended, but it is riveting. If that would be if I had my own soundboard for like cheesy joke, I would have hit that right there. Riveting. But anyway.
Wait, there's no like, you have to like manage scheduling or...
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm oversimplifying things a little bit for comedic effect, but you have schedules. You have a train schedule. You have to be on time. You have to stop and load and offload passengers, and you can't go too fast. And if the track advises you that there's dangers ahead, you better slow down. And it's not like I thought it'd be funny to go like crazy train mode and just go like 100 miles an hour right through the station. But as far as I've been, it does not allow you to do that, which is a sore disappointment because I wanted to take this train off the rails. It doesn't look like you can do that. However, this is like super like, if you're into trains, you're going to like go crazy about this game. Because you step in the cockpit of one of the trains and there's like a billion buttons where I personally thought to myself, I was like, I never knew that like train operators and engineers had to be this skilled, because I just kind of thought of like a train as like a go and stop mechanism thing. But it's not that simple. There's like a billion buttons. There's like, here, press this emergency brake release, flip the circuit breaker to open. Oh, you better prime the engine. Oh, now it's primed. Start it.
Okay. So
it's a complicated lawnmower.
Yeah. Right. So, okay. So, previous coworker of mine, this guy, Josh, is like super into trains. Josh was like the train guy at work. Right.
Oh, he's into this game.
Oh my God. Josh was the kind of guy who never quite got my sense of humor. He always thought I was like the know-it-all, and I would give him crap about things in a like sarcastic sort of way, and he thought I was being serious, like I was like actually like ragging on him when I was like the kind of like bro kind of like picking on each other because you like each other kind of thing. You just throw jabs. But it, like among guys, it's like your way of saying like, hey, I like you. It's like punching a guy in the arm. You're just like, hey man, I like you. I wouldn't do that unless we were actually friends. And I'm never going to punch you hard enough to actually hurt you. It's because we're bros, right? Well, Josh isn't the kind of guy who gets that at all. Like, doesn't get it at all. But he's also the kind of guy who's like super into trains. I think I might have to apologize to Josh.
That checks out.
Because it seems that there's more going on with trains than I was aware of.
Yes, there's a lot going on with trains, and apparently has been for quite some time. Low Elves asks in chat, is it a steam engine or the new Amtrak style? Both. It's both. Any type of train that you can imagine, any little train that your heart could desire is in this game. And in fact, you can change the outfit of the train engineer that you play as. And you can take it one step further. You don't even have to be in the train. You can get off at the train stations and walk around and just, have a jolly good time walking around and looking at the train. A large part of this game are people who like, okay, this is going to sound like bad, and I'm going to get some hate mail from some train aficionados, but
oh boy,
a lot of this game felt fetish-like to me.
It probably is.
And it's like,
I would,
because
can you customize your character?
Not too much. I mean, a little bit.
Can you have like a big handlebar mustache?
I think it's more about customizing the train.
I want to have like a British train conductor hat, an outfit and a big old handlebar mustache.
Like Yosemite Sam.
Kinda, but like the British version of it. Like Victorian train guy. Yes. Yeah. It's the game is something else, and you can go on the Euro lines. Like there's one in the intro that you can play in Germany. There's another one in Boston. I don't know why you would ever fantasize about driving an Amtrak in Boston. Maybe Boston was a train hub
style
back in the day. I don't know.
If that's your style, like go for it. I guess theoretically you could drive the train that Joe Biden is like a huge fan of between Delaware and DC.
Joe Biden loves trains.
He loves trains. And I think President Biden would be a super big fan of Train Sim World 2.
Yeah, I hear he plays it every night before he goes to bed.
Yeah. He's like, not now, Jill. I gotta play some Train Sim.
Oh, the Middle East crisis can wait. Choo-choo time.
Sir, the Taliban have striked again.
I don't care about them right now. It's choo-choo time.
Do you see this locomotive? Let me tell you something about this 1946 Mark II.
I rode one of these back in my first trip to Alabama. I'll tell you about Alabama. The women down there, they're good kissers.
Soiled doves, the whole lot of them.
Oh my God. Okay. We're going to just do a whole show about trains and Joe Biden.
Trains and Biden. All
right. I've got some. Okay. So how many pizza slices? We got to wrap this up with pizza slices. How many pizza slices is this getting?
I don't know. Okay. If I'm a train aficionado,
if you're the kind of person who just enjoys a good sim game, is this worth checking out?
Oh, yeah, I'd say 7
Okay.
out of 8.
Right.
Only reason I'm not giving it 8 is because the intro, the tutorial is really on rails. There's
that might be on purpose.
It's definitely on purpose, but you can't go outside the bounds of anything. Like it doesn't let you skip even the little like British narrator. It's a British narrator, by the way, in the tutorial. You can't skip anything. No dialogue whatsoever that you can skip. So it's very linear.
Yeah, I get you. All right. So, okay. And now if you're not a sim person, is it worth checking out anyway?
God, no.
Not
if
at
you're
all.
Not a sim person, you're going to be wasting, I guess, a little bit of time. It's only 9 gigabytes, so no harm, no foul, okay. I guess. But, if you're not a sim person, if you're like expecting Crazy Train, Mad Max type of action, that's not going to happen.
This is not happening. You are not stealing trains and shooting the conductor in the head and none of that. Okay.
No.
Yeah, go play Red Dead Online if you want to, a train heist. All right. What if you have a little kid who likes trains? Probably worth it.
Yeah, definitely. If you have a little kid who loves trains, your kid will probably play this game for about 30 minutes and then never again.
Unless they just want to watch the trains. Like unless
they just want to watch trains. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Some little kids just want to watch trains. Like that's totally a thing.
Huge part is cinematic mode. You can go into cinematic mode and then I imagine there is an enormous screenshot community for this game.
Yeah. Some people just really like the design of like interesting kinds of locomotives. Well, not just locomotives, but like large mechanical, things like the kinds of things that people that people engineer.
Baby.
Big designed, big things that people make. I don't know. All right. Well, here let's talk about 12 Minutes, because this is kind of an interesting game that came out recently and is very different from a lot of games in recent years. This one's kind of a big, I don't know, different, breaks the mold kind of game. I don't know how to phrase words. This one is interesting for a number of reasons. It is kind of like you're stuck in a time loop as the main character, from the perspective of looking down on your character, the protagonist of the game. And I don't know that you're given the name of the character I think when you return home, your wife just says like, "Hi, honey," and that's kind of it. I could be wrong. I played this for, I don't know, about an hour. Your main character is voiced by James McAvoy. Your wife is Daisy Ridley. So two like A-list actors. James McAvoy, of course, plays the younger Professor X in the X-Men movies. Daisy Ridley, of course, plays Rey in the newer Star Wars films. And then Willem Dafoe plays a police officer who shows up at the end of those 12 minutes. And I don't want to spoil anything on this one because, unlike Myst, this is not a 30-year-old game. But to get into just kind of a sense of what happens in it, it's very much a adventure style game, an old adventure style game, in the sense that you click on something to tell your character to interact with it. Your character then walks over to it and interacts with it. So for example, if I want my character to walk forward, I don't just push forward on a D-pad or click like the W key. I click on the ground where I want my character to walk, and I'm looking straight down over the top of my character. So it kind of like Monkey Island. Yes, kind of like that. If I want my character to walk over to the refrigerator, I would click on the refrigerator and my character would go over and open the refrigerator, because what else are you going to do with the refrigerator? The intuitive thing is I want my character to open a refrigerator, and then it would show a zoomed in view of the refrigerator, and anything I can interact with in the refrigerator, I can then click on, right? And so you click on the thing. If there's something you can pick up, it then ends up in your inventory. If there's something in your inventory you want to interact with, so let's say you have a key and you want to use the key to open the door, you drag the key from your inventory to the door, and your character goes and opens the door with the key. It's pretty intuitive, right? If you want to click on a person, you can do that. And then if you want to talk to that person, dialogue options pop up and you choose the dialogue option you want to use. That's basically it. And time moves forward. So you return home, your wife greets you, says, "Hi, honey." She's excited to see you. She has a surprise for you. Time moves forward. 12 minutes go by. And then a thing occurs. And then those 12 minutes start over. And you're the only one who notices this.
A thing, you say?
A thing occurs.
Is it a different thing, or is it the same thing every 12 minutes?
It's basically this, the way this 12 minutes ends, the 12 minutes ends the same way, with the same thing ending each time. And you can go do whatever you want in the apartment. So MK10 Gamer says, did you look in the drawer before talking to your wife? You can go do that. You can go talk to your wife and let her do what she's going to do. And then maybe she goes to the drawer. Maybe you go to the drawer before talking to her. Maybe in one instance of this, you do that. And then in the other instance, you let her go do that. Maybe in one instance of this, you try to ignore her. Maybe in another instance of this, you walk back outside. Maybe in one instance of this, you go poking around in the bathroom. Maybe in one instance of this, you go in the closet and you find a phone. Maybe like there's lots of other things you can do, but you start to put together pieces of what's going on. And then you start trying to make the situation not occur the same way. You try to keep the situation from happening differently. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I think it sounds, it's different in format, definitely, but it does sound like a puzzle game.
Right. So MK10 Gamer says you can't ignore Daisy, but you can you can't ignore her, but you can like show disinterest in her, meaning like ignore her in that way. Does that make sense? There are things you can do to be like, hey, not now, I'm busy. It just depends on where you go and how quickly you do certain things. So there's lots of different ways you can play through this, and it's a puzzle thing. And I didn't complete it. I have some theories about ways that I can do that, but I haven't cracked the code yet. I'm also not sure how long the game actually is, because I think that it probably isn't that long once you actually figure this out. But I'm not sure, because I'm not that far into it yet. I did go through multiple cycles. I have gone through maybe, 10 cycles at this point. The other thing is that your character your character remembers the previous things and can even brings up things that they remember from the previous cycles to characters they talk to, which sounds insane, right? Because you can tell people, hey, this thing's about to happen. And they might go, what are you talking about? Right? So that plays into it as well. So, and that's about all I want to say.
Be my next question.
Right.
Is do people treat your character like your character's crazy?
So it depends. It depends on what you do, right? It depends on how you approach the relaying of information. It depends on what you do to prep the situation. It's like that you have to take those things into consideration. So that all plays into the puzzle of how you deal with the situation. So you play with the different variables and you see what you can do with it. So it's interesting. It's the first cycle. You kind of feel like there isn't a whole lot you can do, but it actually only takes about 10 minutes to get through that first cycle. So it really doesn't take that much time. And by the time you're in the second cycle, you start coming up with ideas. You start going, okay, well, I didn't try this. And then you're like, well, what happens if I do this instead? What happens if I do this instead? What happens if this thing never happens? Why did this happen this way? What if this happens instead? Like you start coming up with these variables, and some cycles you feel like you get further than others. Some cycles you don't feel like you get far at all. And you just start playing with the options. And I'm sure eventually you end up going, okay, well, if I do this time and I do this time, then maybe I can push this cycle a little bit further and stop this thing from happening or whatever. So it's interesting. It's got a really cool premise. The fact that there are, A-list celebrities, the voice acting is good. It's all top down. So it feels like you're just kind of watching this unfold. The artistic design of it is actually pretty cool. It's all based around this concept of a clock. It zooms in on a clock as the game loads up, and the clock gets closer and closer and closer. And if you notice, the hands of the clock are actually ticking backwards, which is really kind of interesting. It's not actually ticking forward, they're ticking backwards. There's little subtle details in the design of the game. There's some kind of touching moments that can happen, but then there's ways that things unfold in other ways. There's clearly a backstory that's hidden to your character for why certain things are happening that your character kind of has to parse together. So it's a neat little mystery. It's a neat little game. I don't know how much I would pay for it as a standalone title, but the fact that it's on Game Pass means that there's no reason not to try it. Especially if you like a puzzle game that's voiced by actors that are in awesome movies, like why not? Why not try it out? So that's my take on it.
If you were going to use just a couple words to describe the feeling, the aesthetic of the narrative, what would you say?
It's almost like it's got like a noir quality without the detective.
Well, that sounds accurate from what it depicted in the trailer. So I guess I'm happy to hear that it didn't, market itself poorly.
It's as if you're the detective. It's as if you're taking the story that this guy told you and you're piecing together the experience from like a top-down view of the situation.
Well, I should check that out. I'll probably like that.
Mm-hmm. And
I do like mystery and noir games.
Yeah, and it's like this tiny little apartment. So it's like you're looking down on a tiny little New York apartment. You can the rain starts to pick up. You can see it outside the window. It's, like there's this little radio on the windowsill. You can go turn it on if you want to. Like it's got this like cool noir aesthetic to it. Everything looks like you're looking down at the ground. So you see like the wood grain of the floor. You see like the old, apartment aesthetic. I don't know. It's got kind of this cool vibe.
Maybe this is just because I just finished the first season, but it sounds like The Wire a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I think there might be. I haven't watched The Wire, but I've heard of it. I've heard people talk about it, and I've seen clips and things. So
homicide detectives in Baltimore.
Yeah, and the fact that Willem Dafoe plays a police officer, so a police officer does play into this, and there is some mystery going on with something having to do with that. Yeah, there's some of that there too. So yeah, I think there's no reason not to check it out. So from a preview standpoint, I think it's an 8 out of 8. I think it's definitely worth trying just to see where it goes and what you think of it. I'm curious to see if the payoff is as good as the mystery is to begin with. So it's definitely worth checking out. I would be interested to see where it goes and what you guys think. So that's 8 out of 8 pizza slices. Also, Rain on Your Parade. This is the funny little cartoon game that's been on Game Pass for a while, where you're like this cardboard cutout rain cloud, and your job is to like rain on everybody. You kind of float around and you rain on everybody. You go on these different little missions. Like you kind of float around. Like the very intro level is like a wedding or something. You just have to get everybody wet, and they all like, everybody runs around, and they get wet. And then your goal was like, get all 8 people at the wedding wet, and then cha-ching, checks it off. Yay, you did it. You unlock a little thing. Now your rain cloud can wear a hat or whatever. And then you go to the next mission. I played a little bit of this. I watched my wife and son. This is a my wife and son kind of game, because they play these kinds of games all the time. They absolutely loved it, this game. And I loved watching them play it, because it's one of those indie games that's just super smart and funny, because it goes places you never expect. You start thinking like, okay, I get where this is going. You have these different little quests. Okay, so now the rain gets like lightning. So now your goal is to, and what's so smart about this, and you're going to get, being that you live up in the Northwest, the cloud is on a quest to go to Seattle, because that's where the rain goes.
Checks out.
And you're doing all these dumb things on the way up there. So at some point you get like the ability to like hit things with lightning. So now you got to blow up all these cars and also get all these people wet within a certain amount of time. And you only have so much water, so you have to do it within a certain amount of water, right? And everything's cute and funny, and you do that. But the little levels upgrade as you go, but then they add in all these different components and other different things happen. But the game goes in all of these weird places where it like takes things from other games, and all of a sudden you're playing another game in the game engine. And I'll give you one example of this. Towards the very end of the game, you're basically playing Doom. What? There is a level where you load into it. Actually, no, so you have a little base, and you unlock things for your base, and eventually you get an arcade cabinet in your little rain base. And if you go over to the arcade cabinet, there's like a bonus level. And this isn't the only game where you're basically playing another game as the rain cloud, but you're actually playing this game inside the game where you are playing a bonus level, and in order to unlock other gear for your rain cloud as the rain cloud, going through a first person shooter map. And the whole game is designed around looking down at the rain cloud, and you're running around shooting raindrops, collecting ammo so you can shoot raindrops and lightning forward at people running around a map in order to shoot the people, get them wet. And then there's other things that you have to hit, and it's basically Doom. You're playing Doom as a rain cloud. There's another map where you're basically playing Zelda. You're playing like the Legend of Zelda, like the first Legend of Zelda. You're going through, you're even breaking pots and collecting like rupees out of the pots. Like, this game goes nuts. It goes the weirdest places. There's a villain you have to beat at some point. It is ridiculous.
I mean, why the hell not?
Why the hell not? Yeah, you get like wind powers. You get like all sorts of things. The game goes so many places I never expected it. It's super fun. It's super charming. You can even design the face of your rain cloud. And so when you put glasses on, sometimes they don't even end up on your eyes. It's super silly. If you like super wacky and yet still smart indie games, absolutely should check it out. And again, it's free. And if this is your kind of thing, totally 8 out of 8 pizza slices. Totally worth checking out. If you're not into super silly, just kind of, just do something silly kind of games, it's not your thing. Just don't do it. But if you like this kind of funny kind of thing, especially if you have kids, absolutely should play it. So there you go.
Yeah, that sounds like something I'll introduce to my girlfriend. I think she'd probably like a game like that, especially because she loves Zelda. So
yeah, there's like a Zelda level. Who knew? You play through a Zelda level. Yeah, and you have to figure out puzzles. You have to like do things in a certain order, unlock secret doors and stuff. Like, it's crazy. Crazy stuff. All right.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to introduce that to her.
All right. Well, we've got a middle of the show to do where we talk about some of the upcoming games, some of the games leaving. And what I'm going to do while we do that is I'm going to drop in the invitation link to our Zoom call for anybody in chat who would like to join us. You can join us in there. You'll hang out in the waiting room, and when we get done with the middle of the show, I will let you in one at a time to tell us about some of the things you've been trying out, and you can join us at the end of the show. So here you go. That's in there, and we'll be right back. All right, so we've got some games leaving very, very, very soon, and some of them we mentioned last week as well. Again, we've got the Blair Witch game, the Double Kick Heroes, Stranger Things 3, and NBA 2K21 are leaving. Most of these games are on, actually all of the games are on console. Blair Witch is also on PC. And so goodbye to those games. The last chance to try those out if you want to try them. And then we've got some new ones coming, some of the ones we talked about. So we've got 12 Minutes and Myst. Both of those are console, cloud, and PC. Comanche is out on PC currently, I believe. Did that come out already? I think that came out already.
It is. It was released to Game Pass with very little fanfare. Can't see why. Looks compelling. No, but I'm being a little sarcastic here, but it's basically like Ace Combat, but instead of flying a fighter jet, you're flying a helicopter. So I don't want to say it's a helicopter sim. It's probably not. Probably a little bit more arcadey than that. But it has multiplayer. So if you're super into helicopters, go check it out. And then Humankind is out. I talked a little bit about that last time. Still haven't had time to dive back into that, but that's only PC. Sam will soon be able to play that one. And very soon.
Quake 1, 2, and 3. Quake 1 is the only one on console. 2 and 3 are on PC also. Psychonauts 2 is out. I have that downloaded. Haven't been able to start that yet. I think that's one that my wife and son will enjoy as well. That's been getting really good reviews.
Oh, yeah. And it looks really smooth. I've looked at some of the gameplay. I did not expect to be wowed by the graphics that much from Psychonauts. So really impressed with that one. I'm going to have to check it out. It looks like it has a, pretty solid story, something along the lines of the same aesthetic as like Ratchet and Clank. So going to have to check that one out as well. Yeah.
Psychonauts 1 was a kind of a classic, kind of a cult classic for, that came out back in 2005, I want to say. It's been a while. And then Recompile is out. That's another one I thought would be interesting to try out. Just haven't had a chance to check it out. And then coming soon, Origami for consoles on September 16th, Lemnis Gate on the 28th for console and PC, Moonglow Bay on October 7th for console and PC. And what do you know about this one, Sam?
So this one looks pretty cool. Looks like a whimsical fishing game. And when I say fishing game, most of the video games that are about fishing that are out there are like, Pro Bass Tour 2019. And they're relatively sim-like for fishing. This one does not look sim-like at all. This one is, very pixelated. It's it looks like if you were to insert a Minecraft fishing game as a standalone on Game Pass, you'd get something close to this. So it looks like a fun little fishing game, and you can also cook what you catch. So nice. You gotta have the recipe though. You gotta have the ingredients for the recipe. So reminds me of a little mini game in an old version of Pokemon Snap, I think it was, where you could go fishing for Pokemon. So
cool. And then Back 4 Blood comes out on the 11th for console and PC. I'm going to be playing that. That's going to be taking up a lot of my time. I enjoyed the beta, and I love Left 4 Dead, and this is very much in the same vein, although it feels a little bit more thoughtful than Left 4 Dead did. Left 4 Dead it became very formulaic. Once you figured out the levels and how to deal with each of the enemies, and you had a group of people who were experienced, you kind of just did the right things at the right time. Kind of like a game of baseball. That's my interpretation of baseball, is that if you are the team who's out on the field, you just do the right thing when the ball goes in the right place. And if you do the right thing in the right way, then the other team never gets a chance to score unless they get a home run. That's what Left 4 Dead felt like to me, right? Like, theoretically, you just do the right thing all the time, you win the game. This feels a little different. I think it was going to be a really cool game. So that's coming out again on October 11th. And that's it for right now. If anybody would like to join us, I don't see anybody in call waiting. If there's something you've played recently on Game Pass, you want to throw out some of your thoughts on that, then feel free to join us. We're going to move into the end of the show. Here we go. The little boop right there at the end. Well, we don't have anybody in call waiting right now, but we do have some people in chat chiming in. So Mark 10 Gamer says, need to play Back for Blood. Didn't play it at all. Yes, you definitely need to. We'll be setting up some of the Game Pass gang playthroughs in October when that comes out. You know I will be playing that. I will definitely make time for it. Especially Zombies October. It is absolutely the right time to be playing a zombie game with Halloween and all that stuff. That's going to be, I'll be setting up some streams for that. Probably on Wednesdays. Wednesday nights will be good because I don't have any shows Wednesday night. So that'll be a good time to do that. We can stream it, and maybe, who knows, if we can get a core group of us playing those, maybe we can get some, experience playing through some of those levels, get really good at them. And then, Commanders. Oh, do you want to chime in, Sam? Sorry.
I was just going to say, with my having a PC, I will be able to join in any group that we have going on.
Yes, that'll be awesome. So please let us know if you're into a specific game. And here's another thought. We've been talking, there's a lot of people throwing stuff around. A few days ago, people were talking about playing Halo. Halo Infinite is now coming out in December. You guys don't need to wait for us to set up like, hey, everybody, we're going to be playing this thing. Come join us. I know there are a lot of people in the community who are very capable of hosting your own events. A lot of you guys are streaming on your own channels. You're kind of doing your own things. Feel free to use our Discord as a platform for, kind of rallying the community around to playing whatever games you want to play, especially if it's Game Pass stuff and you guys want to just kind of get a group together to regularly have a night to play stuff. Sam and I would love for you guys to do that. We would love to be able to jump in when we can. I know our schedules are all different. Everybody has different schedules. I have shows on different nights of the week. Sam has kind of a rotating schedule at work. I've got family obligations sometimes. We all have different obligations, but if there's something that you want to play, if there's like a Halo night that you want to set up with some of the people, if there's Destiny 2, something I threw out there because I want to get back into that again before February when the new content comes out. Back for Blood's going to be out in October. I definitely want to be playing some of that. There's just so many good games out there. Sea of Thieves is on Game Pass. I'd love to be playing some more of that again. If there's something you want to play and you want to just set it up, feel free to just, don't feel like you're annoying if you want to just pop in there every day and just say, hey guys, I'm getting on again. It's, 5 p.m. and this is usually when I can play. This is when I'm playing. Let me know. Here's my Xbox name again. Send me a friend request. I'll be in game. Come join me. Just do it. Just keep saying, here I am. I'm playing this. Come join me. Here I am. I'm playing this. Come join me. Here I am. I'm playing this. Come join. Don't badger anyone specifically individually, but just keep saying like, I'm available if anyone wants to play this. And eventually people will show up, and it doesn't have to be us to head it up. Like, you guys are welcome to do that. And if you are pushing the envelope a little bit too much, we'll let you know. It's okay. Everybody heard. You just have to post once in that day is fine. That's fine.
Yeah. And at least for me, anyone that's friends with me on the Discord probably sees my Xbox handle. Don't hesitate to add me on Xbox. And if you're already friends with me on Xbox, don't hesitate to just shoot me a party invite if you see that I'm not streaming. If I'm not streaming and I'm playing Xbox, don't hesitate to send me a message or shoot me a party invite and say, hey, you want to play this? And, if I don't want to, I'll let you know. But yeah, chances are I'll join in because I'm always looking to, interact with the community. So.
Right. And sometimes you're just playing something else, or sometimes you just don't have enough time to jump in. And it's completely fair to say, sorry, I just don't have time right now. Or sorry, I was in the middle of something else. Like, that's totally fine. Like, we're all adults. Let's just, if you can join each other, let's just join each other. Why not? Commander Sovereign in chat says, they ever bring back the Xbox version of Settlers of Catan? I played that way too much and want to again. I don't believe they did, at least not on Game Pass. I don't think so.
I remember the Xbox version of Carcassonne, if you remember that.
Yeah, Carcassonne.
That was fun.
I had that on my app too, or an app on my phone, and I got really good at that. And I played with a bunch of my friends, and then they stopped playing with me. Bummer, dude.
That's like me and my friends with Risk.
Yeah.
My friends learned that with Risk, they're like, you got to take Sam out early. If you allow him to exist past certain amount of turns, it's over.
Don't let him get Australia. Don't let him get Australia.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I did every time. I was like, back to the wall. I'll push out.
Yeah. He gets Australia. We'll just fight each other to death, and then he'll take Asia, and then he'll just win against everybody. Yeah, don't do it.
Yep.
Oh man, good old Risk. Well, anybody else have any other questions or want to join us? You're welcome to. Otherwise, we'll be wrapping up this episode. Yeah. So let's see. This week, I do want to jump back into some Destiny 2. It's a little bit confusing to jump into some of the old content, though. Commander Sovereign says, dude, don't mention Risk. I used to eat and breathe and defecate that game. Well, I guess if you eat it, you got to process it, and you can't digest all of it. Some of it has to come back out.
There's so many different versions of Risk, and I had a Game of Thrones version. One of my favorites for sure. There's also a Mass Effect Risk,
is there?
Which I definitely wanted to get.
There's a Lord of the Rings one that we got my dad years ago. I think we played it like one time.
Yeah. Some of the niche game modes can get a little complicated. Same with Axis and Allies, the board game. Oh my God. That board game takes forever to set up.
Yeah, that was one that I never really did get into.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for being on the live show. If you have any thoughts or questions or things that you want to share about the Xbox Game Pass games that you're playing, we'd love to hear from you. You can always send us a message or join the Robots Radio Discord channel and shoot us a note over there. If you're looking for people to play with, don't be afraid to jump into the Xbox Game Pass gang channel and shoot out some messages to us on there as well. Sam, you got anything you want to share before we head out?
Not really. I will be streaming some more Mass Effect, of course. I'm trying to finish Mass Effect 3 from the Legendary Edition before I get my PC. That way I have a reason to buy Legendary Edition on the PC.
You're going to play through it again. The next
playthrough will be fully on Insanity mode difficulty.
Dude, with those graphics and the SSD on your PC, you're going to be like...
Oh yeah, it'll be a perfect comparison, right? Because I will be going directly from one to the next one, and
you're gonna be I
can't wait to be amazed.
You're gonna be like, let's load. You're gonna load a new map, and you're just gonna be like, okay, I'm ready to load them. Oh, it's done loading. Huh.
Honestly, this is super dumb and kind of pathetic too, but I can't wait to play Civ again, Civilization, because I have Civ on my Xbox. But man, it crashes like once you get past turn 250, it crashes every other turn.
It's just too much.
And I'm not alone in that.
You're probably running out of RAM.
Well, Civ is unlike other games in that it really requires a multi-core processor. And Xbox One doesn't have the best one. So
Yeah, that's true. So, well, I hope you don't spend too much time just replaying the games you've already played, because there's so many fun things that you could be checking out.
I will be rebuying Cyberpunk as well. Mm-hmm. So I played that just briefly when it came out. Cool. That'll be new for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy it. I hope you have a good time with all of that. I'm sure we'll be chatting. You'll be letting me. I'm sure you're going to share pictures of your new system when you get it all set up too, and you'll be like, "Hey, everybody, look what I got." So that's awesome. That's so exciting. New PCs are always so much fun. Well, that's awesome. I've got all my shows over at the Robots Radio Network. There's the Mass Effect Lorecast that Sam and I do together. There's all the other Lorecasts that I do: Fallout, Elder Scrolls, Cyberpunk, The Witcher, Dungeons and Dragons. And man, there's so many other good shows on the network that Sam and I don't do that other people do. So go to robotsradio.net, check out that stuff. Tons of awesome things over there. Also, there's the Robots Radio Rocket Club, where I work with other podcasters to help them launch their shows, learn about recording, learn about putting together a show that will actually get an audience, which is a huge deal, and learn how to market it. so that people know that it exists, because that's really hard. And this is awesome news. Sam and I do the Mass Effect Lorecast, which is in the top 1.5% of podcasts internationally. Of the almost 3 million podcasts out there, we're in the top 1.5%.
We're like kind of cool.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, the Fallout Lorecast is in the 0.5% top of podcasts. I do multiple shows that are above the top 1.5%. There are a number of other shows on the Robots Radio Network that are in that same kind of range, and the majority of shows on the network are all in the top 5%. So the network as a whole is kicking butt. So if you want to find out how that works and how to be a part of something like that, then go to robotsradio.net/rocket-club. And I'd love to help you guys learn how to do that kind of thing with your own show. We already have, I think it's like 9 different members of the Rocket Club, and we meet every week. So yeah, it's super awesome. Lots of hard work, not just myself, but the other creators on the network, my co-hosts, lots of people putting a lot of work into the stuff that they love, and the community. And it's you guys behind us, helping us out with that. So thank you to everybody who has been involved with all of it. So that's what we got for you this week. We will be back next week with some more Xbox Game Pass previews and news and all that kind of stuff. Stay safe until then. We will see you next time, and maybe we'll see you on some streams before then. So stay safe, everybody. See you later. Bye.
For interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.